Hey, 7th hour. Sorry, I forgot to tell you I was going to be gone today for a meeting at Red River. So please be nice to Mrs. McWilliams as she's covering for me. Be much appreciated. So let's get started. I'm going to try kind of cruise through these so you have the most time to work on your book assignment. So at any point, just pause it and then catch up if I'm going too fast, okay? So look at these figures and see if you can pick congruent figures. Check yes if they are, and check no if they are not. So I think these are pretty obvious. I would say number 1 is a yes, 2 is a yes, 3 is a no. Clearly this guy's skinnier than that one. Circles are a no. These yellow figures are yeses. These 2 triangles are completely different sizes, so no. The figures on 7 look nothing alike, so that's a no. And the little sun things on 8 are clearly a yes. So I think we're okay with identifying things that look congruent. So congruent figures have the same size and shape. When 2 figures are congruent, you can flip, slide, and turn them. So that's exactly what we did all last chapter on our transformations. And clearly our sizes stay the same after we transform these. Now, corresponding parts of congruent polygons is what that tan worksheet was on that you had over the weekend. So here we're just going to match what piece of the polygon corresponds to the other piece. So remember, guys, the order of these letters down here does matter. So you can either look at the pictures to help you, or you can look at the letters in the order they appear will also give you the right answer, okay? But for this example here, I will use the pictures. So AB corresponds to EF. BC, FG, CD, and GH. So again, just to reiterate, the order of these matter. And then the last one here, they have DA, so I'm going to go HE. Now angles are pretty straightforward. Angle A goes with angle F. Angle B with angle... I lied, reverse. Angle A does not go with angle... Oh, look at that, there they all appear, perfect. Angle A goes with angle E. Angle B goes with angle F. Angle C goes with angle G. And lastly, angle D goes with angle H. So now this time we have an example, but they don't give us a picture. So let's see if we can come up with the corresponding parts just by looking at the congruent statement, okay? So let's start with the angles. So angle R is in the first spot, so it corresponds to angle W. Angle S corresponds to angle X. Angle T corresponds to angle Y. And angle U corresponds to angle Z. Now if you do our sides of our polygon, so just pick 2 letters at a time. RS corresponds to the first 2 letters on that side, so WX. ST are the next 2 letters up to that, correspond to XY. TU corresponds to YZ, and our last one here, I go with my last letter, my first letter, so UR is congruent to ZW. Again, just follow the order of your congruent statement, and that will lead you to the right answer. Okay, moving on here, find the values of the variables. So they're telling us that these 2 triangles are congruent. So now we have to pick things that are in corresponding positions. So if I wanted to find Y, I know that angle Z and angle D are congruent because they're corresponding parts. So angle Z is congruent to angle D. Okay, what is angle Z? Well, they tell me angle Z is 30 degrees. And angle D is 2Y. Now just solve. How do I get Y by itself? Divide. 15 equals Y. Great. Okay, now are you going down here to XY? XY corresponds to EF. So those guys there are congruent. XY is congruent plug in what we know. You know xy is 9, and we know EF is 3x. Get x by itself by dividing. Divide. 3 equals x. Good job, team. Our next example here says triangle FGH is congruent to triangle QRS. Find the measures of the given angles or the legs. So if you want to draw a picture, go ahead, but I'm going to practice just by going by the order of the letters. So GH is equal to RS. Do you guys notice that those are the second and third letters of both of these congruent statements? So I know that those two things are congruent. So if I want to find what x is, well, let's see. GH, they tell us, is 3x minus 2. They tell us RS is x plus 6. There we go. Now we have an equation we can solve. So let's take care of our variable first. Subtract x from both sides. 2x minus 2 equals 6. 2x, add the 2 over, equals 8. I'm running out of space here. Oh, there we go. Divide by 2, x equals 4. If you don't believe me, plug in, try it out. 3 times 4 is 12, minus 2 is 10. 4 plus 6 gives me 10. Those two things are congruent. The sides of a roof suggest congruent triangles. What is the measure of angle 1? They're saying these two triangles here are congruent. So we know our right angles correspond to each other. This angle and this angle here are the same, so this is 48. Now we can find the measure of angle 1 right here. Because we know that there are 180 degrees in a triangle, so if I subtract 90 and I subtract 48, we are left with what? 42 degrees? Hope that's answered. Oh, there it is. See? Okay, next example here. Given triangle ABC is congruent to triangle DEF. Measure of angle A is 30, measure of angle E 65. What is the measure of angle C? So let's take a moment and draw these out quick. It helps. A, B, C, triangle. Now go in the same order. D, E, F. Now let's label. A is 30 degrees. E is 65. And we want to know what C is. So here's our big goose egg. We have no idea. So we know that angle B and angle E are in corresponding positions, so they're congruent. So that means B must be 65. So now I know 2 angles out of the 3. Now we just subtract from 180. And we will find our missing measure, which is 85 degrees. So the measure of angle C equals 85. Multiple choice. The wings of an SR-71 Blackbird aircraft suggest congruent triangles. What is the measure of angle D? So here they kind of blow up these triangles for us so we can see what they look like. So again, we know they're congruent because that's what the problem tells us. So if angle C corresponds to angle F, then I know this guy is 70. And we want to find the missing measure of angle D. That's this guy here. Well, again, we know 2 of the 3 angles, so we can just subtract from 180 and find the missing measure. And we find that to be 70 degrees. Oops, I lied, 75. Is this guy down here 75? Sorry, friends, bear with me. Okay, 75 degrees. Which is not C, it's B. There we go. So what we've been practicing this whole time with these angles is that if we're given 2 congruent triangles like these guys here, that if they have 2 angles that are the same, so they're telling you A is congruent to angle D, and then they're telling us that B is congruent to angle F, then obviously the last angles would also have to be congruent. And we call that the third angles theorem. So if you have two congruent angles, two triangles, then the third angles are also congruent. So let's try determining if these two figures are congruent based on corresponding parts. So on this little box over here, guys, I want you to underline some things. So how can you determine whether two triangles are congruent? You compare the corresponding parts, and here's the kicker. If all 6 parts are congruent, then the triangles are congruent. So if my 3 angles are congruent, and my 3 sides are congruent, then my triangles are congruent. Okay? So you need all 6 of those parts to be congruent in order for your triangles to be congruent. So we're back to proofs. Don't get bent out of shape. They're pretty straightforward. So let's just fill in our reasons for this picture here. So take a second and read through what they're giving you. They marked it on the diagram here. And you're trying to prove that these two triangles are congruent. Okay? So let's start with our statements. They say segment LM is congruent to segment LO. Segment MN is congruent to segment ON. Guys, they just took that from right here. That's a given. Given. LN is congruent to segment LN. That is just the reflexive property. Okay. Angle M is congruent to angle O. Angle MLN is congruent to angle OLN. Again, guys, look, they just took that from the given statement, so that's another given. Okay, then it tells us that the measure of angle MNL, so let's mark that, MNL is congruent to ONL. ONL. So that's the new theorem we just talked about because we have 2 congruent angles already, right? 1, 2. So that must mean that the third angles are congruent. So that is the third angles theorem. So the lastly, they say triangle LMN is congruent to triangle LON. Let's just go through and label our parts quick. Here's 1 side, 2 side, okay, 3 congruent sides. Go through the angles. 1, 2, 3. So I have all 6 parts congruent. So therefore, I can say my triangles are congruent. And we just say definition of congruent triangles. So I know these are goofy at first since we haven't had a ton of practice with them, but we will, so they will get easier. Just keep plugging away at them, okay? We are going to skip this guy, so skip it. Now let's look at this proof here, okay? All right, so it says given RS is congruent to RU, that's you, that is marked for us. TS is congruent to TU, TS is congruent to TU. Angle S is congruent to angle U. They already have these marked, but let's just go through them. And angle SRT, SRT is right here, is congruent to angle URT. Prove that the triangles are congruent. All right, so I think we should start with our sides first. So number 1, let's just go with this given statement here. RS is congruent to RU, and TS is congruent to TU. That's just given. Number 2, okay, let's find our third side of our triangle here. So we already talked about RS and RU, ST and TU. So the last side of our triangle, guys, do you see this? It's TR, and TR is in both triangles. So we can say TR is congruent to TR by the reflexive property. So why don't we go over here and put sides, check, all three of them are done. Now let's move on to our angles. So step 3, let's start now with our given statement for our angles. So let's just jot this guy down. Angle S is congruent to angle U, and angle SRT is congruent to angle URT. So if I clean up this picture here, this angle's covered, this angle's covered, these guys down here. So again, remember, if I have two congruent triangles, two congruent angles and two different triangles, then that third angle in both of those triangles must be congruent. So, that being said, angle STR is congruent to angle UTR. So, for angle STR is congruent to angle UTR. Oops, forgot a reason over here. This was given. And 4 is the third angle's theorem. So now lastly, we can say our triangles are congruent, so that last proof step up there, because I have all 6 parts congruent, and that is just definition of congruent triangles. Guys are doing great. Keep it up. So now this last here, let's not write it all out, but let's just talk through it quick. So they're telling us that we have, let's talk about these sides first. 3 congruent sides, right? There's 1 dash, 1 tick, 2 ticks, 2 ticks. That means those sides are congruent. And then this third side, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And then they tell us what? Angle A is congruent to angle B. So I have 4 of my 6 parts. And since you guys are so smart, I know you're thinking, oh, these are vertical angles, so I know that those 2 angles are congruent. Yep, you're right, they are. So now I have 2 congruent angles in the 2 triangles. So that must mean that angle E is congruent to angle C by the third angles theorem. So then we end up having congruent triangles because all 6 parts are congruent. Thank you so much, guys, for watching. I will talk to you tomorrow in class. See you then.